All right, so welcome to Central Exchange. Thank you everyone for joining this afternoon. Today I have Kathy Dean from Uplift. She is somebody that I realized for the first time ever, I told somebody that they had changed my life. And this woman is just beyond amazing, and she has been a part of Uplift for 15 years, served as president for them, and she's going to share an amazing story with us today. So Kathy, I'll let you take it away.
Well, Madison, you were afraid you were going to get teary, so give me just a second. But thank you for your kind words. And it's really good to hear that what we do really does make an impression on people. I'm so happy. Thank you for allowing me to speak to you about Uplift, because it is my passion. It has been for 15 years. Today is really strange for me because in all the years that I've done presentations for Uplift, it's the first time I've done one in my office alone and not in a group with the people that I'm talking to. So this is a new experience for me. So Uplift started with a man named Bill Ellis, and he actually worked for Salvation Army. He was in their soup kitchen. And at the end of his shift, he would notice people on the corners and under the bridges as he was going home, and he knew he hadn't helped them. And he wondered who was taking care of them. So he got a couple of his buddies together. In the front seat of his pickup truck, they bought 1 dozen donuts, 1 thermos of coffee, and they took a whole bunch of cigarettes because it's been a while. And off they went to talk to the people on the street. And now on November 1st, 39 years later, we've not missed a night out on the street. Since the COVID-19 virus, we have had to change the way we do things. We did pull one of our trucks off of the street because if we have a lot of volunteers with us out on the street, there's a good chance that maybe somebody would have it. And if we spread it to the homeless population, it would have been a disaster. So for the past 8 weeks, we've been going with 1 driver and 1 volunteer. Usually we have 1 driver and 4 volunteers on each of our 4 trucks. But even the COVID-19 has not stopped Uplift, and I'm so proud of that. We are 100% run by donations, and we receive no federal, no government funding, and we do that for a reason. And the reason being is I'm so proud to be an American, but if we got money from the government, we would have to follow so many guidelines and so many restrictions. And literally when we're on the street and we see somebody face down on the pavement, we don't have time to ask, what category would this person fit in, or where can we get permission to help them? We just help them. So that's one reason that we decide not to take any government, any funding. We're 100% volunteer run. And I think that is one of the reasons that we're so successful, because everybody that is at Uplift is there because they want to help the people. And when I'm on my truck, I know I drive on, or I haven't since this COVID thing, but on Monday night, I would always be on the truck, and I would know when I'm out on the street, the other 3 people driving on the street, they're not looking at their watch saying, oh my gosh, another hour until I get to go home. They're out there because they want to be, and it didn't matter how long it took us to get our route done. We knew that everybody was going to be out there until it was done. If you think of society as a ladder, Uplift isn't even on the bottom rung of that ladder. We're down in the muck and the mire, and we're holding their heads up, literally keeping them alive until maybe an organization on the ladder, is able to reach down. Mental illness, addiction, the other million reasons that somebody's homeless, they're able to reach down and help them. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen very often because the resources are few and the demand is so huge. But we will continue, by the grace of God, we will continue to be on the street as long as they need our help. We have 4 large Sprinter. Oh, I didn't tell you, I did miss one thing. We are 100% volunteer run, and that means that nobody gets paid. We don't have any paid staff. So 100% of every donation goes to the street, which is an amazing, I think, and it helps us be very successful. We have 4 large trucks. We have our east route. It goes north of the river, Independence, and on the east side of town, and then back to our warehouse, which is at 15th and Prospect. And then we have our west truck. It's on the Kansas side, Wyandotte County, Kansas City, Kansas. And then we have the central truck. That's the one that I've driven for many years. It stays mainly in the downtown area. And then 3 years ago, June 1st, we put our Midtown truck on the streets. And we did that because the trucks were out. I can remember being on the plaza at midnight serving the homeless. And that was bad for many reasons. One being nobody should have to wait till midnight to eat their dinner. And number 2, the people who volunteer and come help us probably had worked an 8-hour day. They come to Uplift and they're putting in another 8 hours, which is too hard for people. So we decided, we had a truck. It was our parts truck. And because we're all volunteers, everybody had jobs. If the truck broke down on Monday, then we needed to get it fixed really quickly. And Jim Schmidt is our maintenance for the trucks. He would get parts from this part truck, put on the truck, and off we go. And that way we never missed a night on the street. Well, we decided that we were going to have to take our parts truck off of the parts bin, tape it back together, and get it out there. And that's what we did. We thought that that would help us get to feed the people at a good time and get back to the warehouse at a good time. It lasted for about 3 weeks, and our numbers increased so quickly that now we have 4 trucks that are out very late at night usually. We have on Monday and Wednesday, we leave the warehouse at 6 p.m. And on Saturday, we leave at 5 o'clock. So, and we've done that for, like I said, 29 years. The number of people, I said we lasted for a couple of weeks and it helped, but then the number went up. I don't have the stats for 2019 yet, but in 2018, we served 11,001 more homeless than we did in 2017. And but I can tell you for 2019, in the fall, November, December, last year, on my truck, when I first started driving the central truck 15 years ago, a big night for me would be 40, 50 people. At the same time, this past year, I was serving between 100 and 130 people, and that's on one truck. So that's how our numbers have exploded. I can ask a question if anybody wants to jump in. Do you have any idea why people are homeless? What do you think causes people to be homeless?
Feel free to unmute yourself, turn on your video. We've got a cozy group, so jump in.
Anybody have any idea why
people want to be
homeless?
Yeah. Do you think that's true? Do you think some people choose to be homeless, want to be homeless?
The people that I serve, people say that a lot, but the people that I serve don't necessarily choose. Let me tell you, the number one reason for homelessness is mental illness.
Colette,
And
oh, sorry. Colette had a few guesses. She said life transitions, job loss, and divorce.
yeah, all of those are true. Number one would be mental illness, and number two, addiction. And then your answers would fit right into number three. The majority, I would say 90% of the people that we serve have mental illness. I don't know, after 15 years on the street, you would think I had been able to figure this out. I don't know if they were mentally ill and became homeless, or if they became homeless and it messed with their mind. I don't know if the addiction came second. I don't know how it came first. It's like the chicken and the egg. But anybody who lives on the street, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do any of that stuff. But if I had to live the way they did, I would be probably an addict, because we were not made to endure the way they have to live. We were not, as a human being, made to be spit on when you walk by, or to be looked at like you were lower than human. And if you get that day in and day out, it will affect you mentally. But I truly believe that our society is not able to handle mental illness. It used to be that there were institutions which were so bad in so many ways, but there was some place that you would take the mentally ill. Now they're kind of out on the street. So mental illness is the number one. There are many, many reasons. The people that I'm seeing, and it just breaks my heart, we have a lot of younger people, and it's meth. So many meth addicts. And I mean, they just end up on the street. But Uplift we try so hard to just serve anybody that we come in contact with. We never ask them why. Well, I have to step back on that one. I get to know them, and then I will say, why are you here? What can I do to get you off the street? What can I do to help you? But we don't ever judge anybody. I don't care what they've done. In the winter time, I've seen so many people come up to me right in the Grand, 5th and Grand area. It seems like there must be a bus stop where they all get off of the bus there. But in the dead of winter, you will see a man come with like gym shorts, a t-shirt, no coat, no socks, nothing. And he's like, do you have any clothes? They just let me out of prison. I guess they don't make sure that they have the clothes they need to be put outside. They just let them out. So we don't ever say, well, why were you in prison? You know, what did you do, before we give them what they need. So we try really hard. Well, we don't judge. On the trucks, we take hygiene items. We take a hot meal. In the winter, we take hot chocolate. In the summer, we take lemonade. Every single night that we're on the truck, we serve a hot meal. We have amazing food. There were, for 15 years that I've been driving the truck, every Monday night, I would think to myself and say it to the guys and girls that I feed on the street, you don't know how blessed you are. You're getting to eat better than my husband is tonight, because I'm not home feeding him. So we take great food out. We take hygiene items. Basically anything that you use to get yourself ready for the day, we try to have it on the truck, because the people that we serve are homeless, but they're human. And we try to make sure that they feel the best about themselves that they can, and that they have the items that they need to try to keep themselves healthier. Okay, I made a note down that I was going to ask that you, Madison, you ask. We need to treat them like they're human, and I just said that. It's the hardest thing, and I've already said this before, the hardest thing about being homeless, one man said to me one day, he said, it's not that I don't have a place to live. It's that I don't belong anywhere. The hardest part about being downtown, and this makes me get emotional, is at 5 o'clock, all of these buildings just empty out. It's just like an avalanche of people. They empty out of their buildings, they get in their cars, and you see them driving off. And he goes, I have nowhere to go. I don't belong anywhere, and I'm not accepted anywhere, because I can't even go and sit on the park bench without getting told I have to leave because I'm not allowed to be in that park. To me, that is the hardest part of homelessness, is that, can you imagine what it would feel like to know that you didn't belong anywhere and you had nowhere to go? So Uplift takes an awful lot more than food. We take care and compassion. I always say on my truck, we take a little bit of really good food, but we take a whole lot of really good love. I'm not one that hesitates to hug every person I see. This COVID thing is really messing with my mind, because when I'm on the street, I've known some of these people for 15 years. When I'm on the street, they literally will line up as I'm getting out of the truck, because I'm the driver, and I hug them. Then they go get in line for their food. They wait from week to week until we can hug each other. And that, to me, is just that's Uplift, because that's who we are. We love every one of them. I had a news reporter on the truck with me several years ago. And after the second stop, she got into the truck and she sat down, and it was kind of like the air just went out of her. And she looked over at me and she said, how do you do this night after night? And if any of you have ever been around me, I don't know if you know me or not, but I'm never at a loss for words. Never have been. But I didn't know how to answer that. I just said, I don't know what to say. I said, I'll think about it and I'll tell you before the night's over. So we did the whole route. And as we're pulling back into the alley, I was opening the door, and the night just kind of flooded back through my mind. And I remember at one of the stops, I have an Uplift garden, and a guy named Paul, he graduated from KU in 1996, has his master's degree, and I've served him for 15 years. He loves tomatoes, and in my garden, I grow a lot of tomatoes, so I always have them on the truck to give to the homeless people. And so this particular night, I had a bag of tomatoes, and I helped Paul over to the curb, and we sat down, and everybody was waiting on us, but it was okay. I said, you guys sit, we're gonna have a conversation here. We sat on the curb, we laughed, we joked, we ate tomatoes. And then I got back on the truck, we went to the next stop, and there are two of the funniest guys at this stop, Kenny and Kurt. And Kenny's always carrying a radio, and he had music going. And I love to dance, so I kind of started moving, and they started doing this, and you can't see me. I'm showing this weird thing that they were doing, so I started doing it too. And then I thought, oh my gosh, I hope that was appropriate. So I asked my grandkids, was that okay that I did that? And they gave me a permission. So they called it the swag dance. And one of the volunteers on the truck had her camera out, and she was filming us. And I looked over to Kenny and Kurt, and I said, oh my gosh, we're going to be famous. They're going to post that on YouTube. Well, they didn't. But in their mind, they thought we were on YouTube. So every time that I pull up to that stop, even if they don't have their radio, they hum, and we do the swag dance. It can be raining, it can be snowing, it can be 110 degrees. We do the swag dance. And I could go from every stop and there's something that we do like that. And I just looked at her and I said, that's exactly how I can do it night after night after night. But because it's like family, we're visiting family. But after she had asked me that, I really started thinking about it. And I thought, we're doing all of these things. We're taking them food. We're giving our love and our time, but I want to fix them. And if any of you were in this room with me, if you had talked to me before I started talking to you and told me, Kathy, I have a problem, and no matter what it is, you're telling me about your problem. By the time you get the last word out to me, I've got a way that I think we're going to fix that problem. And that's the way I went into Uplift 15 years ago. And I didn't realize it, but it took me 13 years and that news reporter being on my truck to make me realize I can't fix them. And so, being the fixer that I am, I had to come up with a way to make it feel like Uplift was being successful. And then I realized, after seeing so many of the people that we love so much, you get them right to where you think they're gonna make it to the top, and then they slide back down. And you just keep breaking them to the top and they slide back down. After so many years of that with so many people, I think it was affecting me mentally, and not in a good way. It was wearing on me. So my plan to make everything good was that, and I tell the volunteers before we go out on the truck, or when I was driving on Mondays, tell the volunteers, tonight we're going to see people that you're going to want to think you can fix. We can't fix them. It took me 13 years to say those words out loud. We can't fix them. And that's not what we're supposed to do. So tonight, when you pull into a stop, get out, look them in the face, hug them if you feel comfortable doing it, but make them feel like they're the most important human being on the face of the earth, because they are. And you listen to them if they need to talk, no matter if it doesn't make sense to you. You listen and you smile. You look them in the eye. And if when that truck pulls away from that stop, if they feel better about themselves than they did when we came in, then we've been successful. And you know what? We do that every single night. And that's how Uplift is able to continue. And that's how I can mentally continue. And we are very successful in that way. People sometimes think that we just throw food at them, throw clothes at them. And that's not at all what Uplift does. We love them like our family. We get to know them. Back before we had the phone plans where you had limited minutes, I was over all the time because homeless people have cell phones because the government issues them cell phones. And they all had my number. So it was very expensive for me because they just need somebody to talk to. We don't just go to the warehouse, load the trucks, feed the people, come home and forget about them. It stormed at my house last night. The minute I hear the rain hit the roof, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, the rain is the hardest thing for the homeless people. Try to think about this, and unless you've been there and see them, you probably would never think about this. Every time it rains, everything they own is wet. They do a lot of walking all the time. They're walking because they have to keep moving. Their tennis shoes are wet, their socks are wet. Do you know what it feels like to walk in wet socks? You get blisters, then their feet get infected. Your clothes are wet. Now, today, probably they will dry, but if you're fortunate enough to have a sleeping bag, it got wet. Your blankets got wet. Everything you own got wet. And when it snows, I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I'm so cold and this snow is so bad. I've been on the truck when it was so cold that my cell phone won't work. And I find myself thinking, I can't get out of the truck. And as I get older, every time I step out of that truck and it's so cold, I'm feeling the pain. But then I look and I'm seeing somebody laying on the concrete, and I feel so guilty that I thought for a minute how bad it hurt when I jumped off of that truck. And they have to stay there. So we don't just go home and forget about them. They're always, at least they're always in my heart, and I know all the other people. I stepped down from being the president of Uplift in February. Dan Schipfer is now the president. He's doing an amazing job with the help of Ross Desert. He is one of the most amazing human beings you could ever know. I am so proud of the job they're doing. I can't say I'm happy not being there doing all of it like I have done for the past 15 years, but they're doing a great job. And a new part of my life, I will be able, when this virus goes away, because I'm up there in age and it's not safe for me to be on the street right now, but it's my heart, it's my love. I love every single person that we deal with, and I just wish for all of you that you could have the joy and the ability to look them in the face like I do on Monday nights. We get so much help through donations, and we have people come in the alley and they hand us stuff and they say, oh, we just thank you for what you're doing. And I always say back to them, if you didn't do what you do, I couldn't do what I do, or none of us could. So we are just a complete circle. If we didn't have volunteers, if we didn't have donors, if we didn't have everybody who cares, Uplift would cease to exist. I don't know, Madison, how long I've been talking. Do I have time to tell a story about?
Yeah, you're good on time. And then I was wondering if I could share about the truck experience. That was
Sure.
my firsthand account from a volunteer perspective, or from the other end of the truck.
Do you want to do that first?
I'll let you go first.
Okay. So when I'm going to tell you, I've got so many I could tell you, but one that just popped into my head today, his name was Big Larry. When I started driving the truck 15 years ago, there was only one other woman that drove, Kirsty Ruffini. And I actually went on her truck the first night I ever went out. And then in a matter of weeks, I started driving the truck. And so there were men that drove the other nights and other routes. And they said to me, there is this guy, and they told me the location. He is mean, he is dangerous. You don't feed him, you stay away from him. And I said, okay. And I got on my truck and off I went, pull up to the stop, did not need an introduction. I could tell which one was Big Larry without ever knowing. So I walk up to Larry and I said, hi, Larry, my name is Kathy, and I'm going to be driving on Mondays from now on. And in the meanest, loudest voice, he said to me, get away from me. I don't want to talk to you. Leave me alone. And I said, okay, I'll see you next week. So the next Monday, pull up, go to Big Larry. I said, hi, Larry, remember me? I'm Kathy. I thought I told you I don't want to talk to you. Okay, I'll see you next week. Had that same conversation every Monday night for 2.5 years. I was like a gnat buzzing around that man's head. And on this particular Monday night, I pull up and I got into a situation. I had to call 911 for help. While I was waiting for the police to get there, I could see through the design of the bridge, I could see an eye. Didn't know who it was, but knew somebody was back there. And after the police left and everything was okay, I went around behind the side of the bridge and I said, it was Larry. And I said, oh, wow. And I'm at his side. I said, that was scary, wasn't it? He didn't say a word, but he turned. And when he did, he had his fist coming up. And I thought he was going to hit me. And for an instant, I was scared. And I also looked down. I'm on the Grand Bridge, which I think that's I-70 down below. If he'd have knocked me off of there, I'd have been a goner. But he didn't. He didn't hit me at all. He leaned over and he swooped me up in his arms. My feet were shoulder high off of the ground to me. He was hugging me so hard and patting me so hard it hurt. And he said to me, you don't ever have to worry about anything out here. I will always have your back. You're my baby girl. And from that minute on, every Monday night when I would pull up, if I didn't go to him, I had to put blinders on and pass every other person there, go straight to Larry and give him a hug. Then I could go back and do what I needed to do on the truck. If I didn't, you didn't want to be there because he was a pretty grumpy man. One time, and I had to hug him goodbye before I left too. And one time I failed to hug him before I got on the truck. And I'm getting ready to pull out right in the middle of Grand. And I see this Amazon standing in front of me, hands straight up to the windshield. I put the truck in park, ran out, gave him a hug, and then he meandered out of the middle of the street. He never did get uncranky. He was as grumpy as could be, but I knew that he loved me. And my thought with Larry, people say, why on earth did you keep talking to him? I'm like, I don't know, but if somebody is that angry and that mean, somebody really hurt him. And I just wanted him to know that there is somebody who's not going to hurt you, that loves you, even when you're probably the meanest person I've ever met. And it worked. And it broke the shell. And Larry was one of my best buddies. I can remember one night, it was in the dead of winter, and for I don't know what reason, he says to me, today's my birthday. And I said, well, happy birthday, Larry. Well, after getting to know him more, his birthday was August 14th. It wasn't his birthday. I don't know why he told me that. But anyway, I said, well, how old are you? He goes, well, I'm 57. And this was a long time ago. And I said, well, so am I. And he just looked at me and he took one giant step back and he said, damn, I live under a bridge and I look better than you do. So it was like he never learned manners. He was very crude, but I loved him. He loved me. And I could say that about so many people that are on the street. We truly love them. Unfortunately, we lost Larry. He died on the streets. And with the help of a couple other volunteers, that's very sad for us, because when someone dies, we only know because another homeless person can tell us, well, they died, or we don't know. I mean, we're not informed of their death or where they are or what happened. So we started looking for him. We finally found him and identified his body. They released him to me, not Uplift. This was me personal. I had him cremated. We had a beautiful ceremony. And it was so amazing. There were 7 people that stood up and spoke. This was not pre-decided. It was just spontaneous. All 7 of the people that spoke, we all had a story to tell about something that we learned from Larry. And it just made me really think, they're homeless, but they're human. And I don't know how to make that clearer, that when you look at them, try not to see them as homeless. try to look past. I often ask people when I'm doing presentations, what is the first thing that comes into your mind when I say homeless man or woman? And I get some really scary answers. Sometimes I get scary, lazy bum, smelly, dirty, all negative. And a lot of that's true. They are very smelly, they are very dirty, but they're not all bums. And if you give them a job to do, one time I didn't have enough volunteers, and we take everybody's name so we can keep track of them for our numbers for one reason. And for if we don't see them for a while, like Larry, we start looking to see why we're not seeing them. And so I said to one of the homeless guys, would you be able to get everybody's name for me? You would have thought I handed him a new car. He ran around with the clipboard, got everybody's name. And the next Monday when I pulled up, he goes, can I take names again? And I'm like, oh, well, you did a great job, but we're fully staffed tonight. But you can, you know, anytime I need one, I'm sure going to ask you to do it. So they want to do stuff. They want to help. So I just wish people could look past the society's impression of homeless people. Now, having said that, as in every walk of life, there are really good ones and there are really bad ones. And the homeless, it's the same way. If you want to go ahead, Madison, and tell your experience on the truck, because I think you were on the Central truck, right?
I was on the Central line, and I've only gotten to volunteer, or I've only volunteered once on the truck. I've gone and organized a different time, but being on the Central was an experience because I was at William Jewell at the time. And so being a student, we gathered up about 15 of us, and we all were able to fill the trucks, all Jewell students. And it was, I think, December 2018 when the ice storm had hit super hard, just inches and inches of ice. And then that night it was snowing. So horrible conditions. And we were all pretty nervous about getting down there. But one of the girls, she's like, oh, well, my mom loaned me her Explorer, so I can drive everybody down there. And so we thankfully all made it down there safely and in one piece. And we also got home safely too, of course. But just thinking about it now, it's like we were so concerned about ourselves getting there. It's like we didn't even think past ourselves to think about what they're dealing with and not even having a car or, some type of warmth. So that night I was in charge of taking names, and I gotta say that really is the best job because you get to go around and say hello to everyone. And some of them will crack a joke and others will be grumpy, of course, but and so, just listening to them and having people just wanting an ear to talk to is, I wish I could put it into words. I didn't prepare anything, but yeah, it's just hard to put into words. But I got to hear so many stories and meet so many wonderful people that have just fallen on hard times, whether, again, mental illness or the society just, the cards didn't lay out right for them. And it was amazing to meet so many people. I think one of the biggest things that stuck with me that night was when we were coming to the last bit of our route. Jim and his wife Jennifer, we weren't sure if we were going to have time just because we were serving so many people that night given the conditions, but we went ahead and did it anyway. And we came by the bridge, I think it's the Heart of America bridge that we were by, and
Yes.
They have those little concrete villa things. I wish I could describe it better, but there were people sleeping underneath them because, of course, they've got a small enclosure to help keep the ice and snow off of them. But with it icing, it was just complete solid ice walking across that, trying to get to them. And again, it was the end of our route, so we had a lot of leftover cardboard boxes from unloading different goods and just emptying those boxes. So to save room in the truck, we would break them down every time and put them behind the seats. And as we were about to leave, I noted to Jim, I was like, oh, we have so many more cardboard boxes. Can we give these to them? And he's like, yes. And so we pulled them all out, gave them to them, and to put a layer between them and the ice. And I have never thought before, oh, I'm so excited somebody handed me a cardboard box. And it just was, it was hard to see people be grateful for something so small. Whether it's a hot meal or a cardboard box to be put between them and the ice. And so I felt so guilty that night coming home. I had a car to get into. I had a warm bed, a heated home, and a roof over my head during those conditions. And that was so hard for me because I have so much more than they do. And oh man, I should probably stop talking
Well,
about this.
I'm going to jump in, Madison, and tell you, don't feel guilty that you have more than they do, and do as I say, not as I do. But don't feel guilty because you have such a heart that you are going to be willing to share your blessings with the people who don't have that. It's not like you're very successful and very wealthy and you just keep it all for yourself. It's people like you that get emotional to see what need is out there and are willing to help. Somebody had asked earlier, and sometimes I don't know what I'm going to say and I just drift, but people are homeless because they choose to be. If they're mentally ill, they can't make the decision. They can't make a good decision. I don't think anybody is just in their home or surviving life normally and decides, oh, I'm going to go be homeless. That nobody chooses to be homeless that way. Once you've been, and there is a time, if you're on the street more than a year or two, there's almost a point of no return because you get accustomed. And really quickly, I'm going to tell you the story about Sonny. I served him for many years, and I was hugging him goodbye one night in, I think, November. And he said to me, I don't think I can make it out here another winter. Well, on my own, not through Uplift, I decided to help Sonny. I worked for, and I can't tell you the money I spent. My husband, if it wasn't for me, he would be a very wealthy man. I spent so much money trying to get him an ID. He had worked at TWA. He got laid off. He was manager over the team that puts the luggage on, which is a very important job because it has to be weighted correctly to get on the plane so it flies correctly. And when he got laid off, he got behind on his bills. He started drinking. He lost his home. He lost his family. He'd been on the street for 9 years. I worked until the next December getting him any ID, because after 9/11, if you don't have ID, you can't get ID. We had a copy of his Social Security. They printed it for me, but we couldn't use that as ID because we couldn't prove that he was this person. His birth certificate had been burned in a fire in the Wyandotte jail or the courthouse. And so basically we just couldn't get him ID. And just by a miracle, I finally found somebody who would listen, and she recognized him, and we were able to get a driver's license for him. And then another agency took over, got him an apartment. But 3 weeks, we got him moved in the second week of December. He was able to spend Christmas. My sister bought him a Christmas tree. We went, decorated his Christmas tree. He had a television, he had a recliner, he had a bed to sleep in, he had a bathroom to use, he had a kitchen with a refrigerator that when he's hungry, he actually could go and get something to eat or drink. in my mind, he was good to go. And about the third week of January, I got a call from him and he said to me, I can't do this. Now, I said we started in November, and in the second week of December, that was the next year. It took us that long. It wasn't 1 month. It was a year to get him in an apartment. 3 weeks into January, he called and said to me, I can't do this. And I said, you can't do what? He goes, I am not used to being inside walls. I'm used to walking 20 miles a day. I just can't do this. And I had to put my big girl pants on. And I said to him, you are going to do it. You're going to get out of the I'm a homeless man mentality. And you're going to realize now you need to add to our society and be a plus to society. I'm going to do a resume for you. I'm going to make 100 copies. I will bring it to your apartment. I will give you bus fare. And you are going to take 25 of these. You're not coming home until they're all handed out. And he said, okay, which I'm thankful because I couldn't have made him do it. He said, okay. He got a job. He is completely self-sufficient now. Nobody pays any of his bills. He just needed the extra help. So putting a building around somebody doesn't necessarily get them off the street. And as a society, we need to have programs that once you can get them in housing, somebody works with them to get them over that ledge, because after 5 weeks of being inside, he almost went back out. But he is our success story for Uplift, and I'm very thankful for him. We're probably out of time. Do you need to show our video, or are we still?
I was going to suggest since we send a follow-up email to everyone, I could link the video though so people can watch it and see a little bit more behind the scenes what Uplift does and what the routes look like. But I would love to open it up to questions if you would like. That works for you.
That's fine.
So feel free to unmute yourself again, jump on in. Just want to be respectful of everyone's time since we're scheduled through 1 o'clock.
Hi, this is Gretchen. I did have a question about how the current demonstrations and protests are affecting the folks that that you're serving.
We have not been impacted. The trucks are running. If it's just like for the past, on November 1st, it'll be 30 years. We've done it for 29. We go around, we get to where we need to go, and it hasn't impacted us. The coronavirus has impacted us more than anything. But again, we have still been out there doing what they need us to do.
Mm-hmm.
I have a
Hey,
question.
Kathy. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Terry.
I know you said that nobody gets paid in your organization. What kind of budget does it take to run Uplift annually?
Well, we operate on about 80 to 85,000, probably closer to $80,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
And
so
that's
where does all
to maintain the trucks. That's for fuel. That we rent our building. That's for rent. Everything we get usually that we take out is donated. The only thing that we purchase would be the over-the-counter medication we do take on our trucks, and we don't take anything that isn't sealed for their protection. So I buy that. We buy the lemonade and the hot chocolate, just things like that.
So who cooks all your warm meals? Where do you get those?
We have churches and organizations with a certified kitchen. They do food. Heart of Life cooks. They cook. They have committed to 1,000 meals a month. And the way they do it is they cook it in their kitchen and freeze it, and then they bring it down. They'll bring 12 pans at a time, the big, huge aluminum foil pans, 12 of those at a time. And then when we need food, we pull it out and cook it in our oven. But normally we have Cambros that the health department has certified to be safe to transport food. So we give the cooks that are scheduled for a certain night to cook, we give them the number of Cambros that they need to fill. And then they bring it to us, and then we give them empty ones at the same time so they can bring it the next time. And that's how we do it.
Cool. It's a big network then, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. It's amazing. Amazing to see the chaos before the trucks are ready. And people will say, well, why do you do that? Why do you do that? Well, we've learned over the past almost 30 years that this works. So it's pretty cool to see.
So I have a,
Thank you very much.
in terms of, I think you said early on that you had to scale back the number of trucks. I mean, so at this point, does that truck just go longer, or you're just not able to go to all the areas?
We didn't skip any people, but we were so afraid. We stopped handing out clothing. We only took food. We took pet food because they have animals, and we took food and water and drink. We didn't even take the hot chocolate or lemonade because we didn't want to touch things that were given them. And we took our volunteers down to one and a driver, which is, it's a lot of work, but it's doable. And we shifted our routes, like we pull whatever truck we pull off, we absorb the stops by the other 3 trucks.
Wow.
Just like we used to do it. No, we didn't skip anybody.
Oh, that's nice. And I assume all of the people you get to know, they know where the stops are. Do you do pretty much the same stops every night?
Yes, and we have to move all the time because people will say, we don't want you feeding here, you need to move and get out of here. So we will tell the homeless that now we got to go and we got to move over here. So we move quite frequently, but central stop, I know the people I'm going to serve, and the same with East, West, and Midtown.
Okay.
Liz submitted a question in the comments. She said, I know some grocery stores have a surplus of produce due to the coronavirus. Would Uplift be able to utilize extra produce if my contact still has extra to donate?
We do, and we've been getting donations of from the restaurants, and that we got quite a bit of food, which before they were not able to do, but through this they have been. Yes, we could always use it. But things that we can't probably use, if you think about the teeth of most of the people that we serve are very bad. So they can't eat apples, anything hard to bite into, they can't. So it would need to be, I don't know, produce what you're thinking, but yes, we could do that.
My question is, can we list off the ways that people are able to volunteer, whether it be from afar or coming down to the warehouse when the virus finally settles?
When this is all over and we're able to get back to normal, we have sort days on the second Saturday of every month. You can sign up to go on the truck, although there's a 3 to 4 month waiting list to get on the truck, maybe 2 to 3. And then if you have a group or if you want to talk to our cook coordinator about cooking, you're able to do that. Right now, something and I say this, the kids, Ross being one of them, came up with the online, which I'm old school, I guess. I don't think about that. I do on my feet go and ask people, but he set up a Amazon wish list for Uplift. And in a matter of 3 weeks, we had 300 0-degree mummy sleeping bags delivered to my house. I mean, I was making more trips downtown toting sleeping bags than you can even imagine. And people were from all over the United States were sending us sleeping bags. And that, I think, during this time is the best way to help, because we had to make a lot of changes. We have a PayPal account. You can donate financially or mail a check to the post office box, never the address, but the post office box, because we have had some extra expense by changing the way we serve. We now have tables and cones that we put out so that we don't get close to the people, which, like I said, that's messing with my mind, but it's working and it's very successful, because we have to make sure that they are healthy and they are safe. Because if they get the coronavirus, I don't know how we would stop it. So those are a few ways that you can help. You can come down and volunteer, call our volunteer coordinator, cook, like I said, sort someday maybe, or just, we're always in need of plastic grocery bags and 2 liter and up containers to carry water, because in the summer, just think of the heat today, they don't have a water faucet that they can go get a drink, so we carry water to them. It needs to be no milk containers, nothing that has had milk in it. Or sometimes people bring us like the vegetable oil containers, big ones. We don't like to put water in that because you can't get that taste out. Basically, anything that you would eat, drink, wear to go camping, that's what we need. So.
And I will gladly provide the links for Amazon and all the other resources that Kathy has discussed in this follow-up email. That way, so if you choose to donate or would like to sign up to volunteer in a couple months, those resources will be available to you. But does anyone else have any questions? Oh, go ahead. Oh, we can't hear you.
Hello.
There we go.
Okay. Yeah, my name's Colette Black, and Kathleen, thank you so much for your heart of gold and what you're doing for some of the most vulnerable people in Kansas City. I just really was touched by your story. I happened to listen to a TED Talk last night from the Kaufman Foundation about an organization that does the tiny homes. And really they focus on the fact that homelessness, one of the first ways to systemically resolve it is to provide a place to live, you know, and give homeless people a chance to sleep, because they don't sleep more than a couple hours because of fear of being on the street. Are you guys partnering at all with them to provide homes, or how does that work?
Are you talking about the veterans' tiny homes?
Yes. The VCP, yes.
Yeah. I used to work, Kevin Jameson was one of the founders. I don't believe he's still there, but I used to work with him. And a lot of the people that we served as veterans have worked to help build some of the houses. And so we are working with them, but not as like, we know of them and we send people, but we don't like work as a partner with them. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So, and one other question, you know, where I work is right in the heart of the city, and I probably pass 7 to 10 homeless individuals to and from work. What would be your suggestion for how to help them? What is the best way to help them?
They're
Do
asking.
you give them, for, you know, signs, money, water, whatever? What would be your suggestion? Because you have direct, you know, you understand their life better than I do, and I just would love your opinion.
I know it sounds horrible. I used to give money to, I worked right downtown before when I was young, many, many years ago. And I would carry money in my left pocket for my lunch and money in my right pocket for the people I was going to pass to get there. And I would give it to them. And then I was on the truck and I asked Paul, the guy who loves tomatoes, I said, Paul, what can I do to help you? What do you need? And he said, you can't help me until I'm ready to be helped. And don't ever give a homeless man money. And I thought that was the oddest thing because he flies a sign all the time. So I stopped giving money at that point because of what he said. But on the other side of that, if you have money that you want to share with them, they probably are going to spend it on their addiction. And you have to be the judge of that. They can't not drink if they're addicted. They can't not do drugs if they're an addict. And they have to get it some way. So I am just torn 100%, 50-50 right down the line on that. I always carry food and water in my car and hand it to them. Or if I'm seeing somebody and I see a fast food, I'll run through and get them food. But I also know that they are going to get the money some way. So you have to use your moral judgment on that. But I think the thing that I try to do the most is look them in the eye and let them know I see you and smile at them. Now, having said that, I don't know where I get my fearlessness because I've been in situations that nobody should be in. And I just feel like I have this bubble around me that nothing can hurt me. And it has made my family absolutely crazy. And that's why my husband finally said, you have to come home. So, and that's why I'm not running Uplift today. But I think them knowing that somebody who truly cares about them might be the thing that would make them be willing to take that step they need to get well. And I know that was a long answer, and I don't know if I answered you or not, but
No, that helps. I think I'll keep a cooler of cold water in my backseat. I think that would be at least a
in
start.
the summer, that's perfect.
Mhm.
Well, Kathy, I want to thank you so much for taking the afternoon to speak at Central Exchange. I really think you've touched the hearts of everybody here, and I cannot thank you enough for doing this for us.
Well, it's my honor. It's my passion. I love Uplift. I love the people, and thank you so much. I hope that you could see me. This is just so strange to me, but it's the new age, I guess.
Yeah. Well, thank you again. And just remember, if you cannot donate or financially, or, just when you're driving, say hello to them. Don't, grip your steering wheel and tunnel vision to pretend like you don't see them. Just wave, smile, because I think that is the simplest thing that everyone can do for them, is just, like you said, have a little bit of compassion and let them know that they're human and they're seen and they're loved.
Yes.
So thank you so much, everyone. Thanks for joining this afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you.